Today, we're going to dig into the work of one of sociology's giants, Emil Durkheim, and tackle a really wild idea. What if crime is actually good for us? I mean, think about it. Our first instinct, right? We see crime on the news and we think society must be sick, that something is broken, that a healthy society would have no crime at all. But what if that gut feeling is just completely wrong?
So get this. Over a century ago, Emil Durkheim comes out with this bombshell. He says that a society without crime isn't just a fantasy, it would actually be an unhealthy society. Now, the point isn't that crime itself is good, but that it's functional. And that's the big paradox we're going to unpack.
To really get our heads around such a radical idea, we first have to understand the guy who thought of it. So, who was Emil Durkheim? Well, he was no fringe thinker, that's for sure. Durkheim, born in France in 1858, is basically one of the main architects of modern social science. His whole mission was to make sociology a real, rigorous science, completely separate from things like philosophy or psychology. And his career was just incredibly influential. You can see from this timeline, in just a couple of decades, he put out all these groundbreaking books that literally laid the foundation for how we study society today. He was looking at everything, from how modern economies work to the social reasons behind suicide and even the real purpose of religion. All right, now to get Durkheim's argument about crime, we need to understand his most fundamental concept. It's all about these invisible forces that kind of hold our world together. He called them social facts. And the definition is so important. They are ways of thinking and acting that exist outside of us as individuals. You can almost picture them like a kind of social gravity, these invisible pressures and expectations that shape how we behave, whether we notice it or not. And these things are absolutely everywhere. I mean, you've got the obvious ones like laws and morals, but Durkheim said even stuff like customs or the fashion trends we follow, those are social facts too. You don't invent them, you're born into them, and you feel this subtle pressure to go along with them. Okay, so now that we've got this idea of social facts in our toolkit, let's get back to the main puzzle. If society is built on all these shared rules, how on earth could breaking them, committing a crime, ever be a good thing? Durkheim's first answer is all about maintaining boundaries. So here's how it works. Somebody commits a crime, and that breaks a social rule. Then what happens? The public freaks out, right? There's this shared outrage. Well, that collective reaction is what's really important. It pulls the community together and draws a big, bright line between what's acceptable and what's not, reminding everybody what the rules are. But here's where it gets even more interesting. He said crime doesn't just keep things the same, it's also the engine of progress. Deviance, acting outside the norm, is what challenges old, stale ideas and stops society from becoming totally repressive and stuck in the past. And this is just the perfect illustration of that point. Think about the civil rights movement, the sit-ins, the marches. Technically, those were criminal acts. People were breaking unjust laws. But that deviance was what challenged a broken moral system and forced a profound positive change. Their crime literally paved the way for a new and much better morality. This whole way of thinking that you have to understand social things by the function they serve is the key to unlocking all of Durkheim's work. It's the lens he used to look at pretty much everything. For example, he looked at what holds societies together, the social glue. He said that pre-modern societies had what he called mechanical solidarity, where everyone was pretty much the same. But modern societies? We run on organic solidarity. We're all different, we all have specialized jobs, and that makes us completely dependent on each other. That web of interdependence is what holds us together now. He even used this logic on something as personal and tragic as suicide. He argued that suicide isn't just about an individual's psychology, it's a social fact. The rates depend on how integrated or regulated people are in their society. So egoistic suicide happens when people feel isolated and disconnected, while altruistic suicide can happen when someone is too connected and sacrifices themselves for their group. It's all about the push and pull of these social forces. And he didn't stop there. He looked at religion the same way. For Durkheim, the main point of religion wasn't about God or the afterlife. It was social. By creating a shared idea of what's sacred versus what's just everyday stuff, religion acts like a glue that binds a community together and reinforces all their shared values. So you see, Durkheim gave us this incredibly powerful new way to look at the world. His work is foundational for a reason. But, of course, it's not perfect. Critics rightly point out that his focus on function can make you overlook things like power struggles or the fact that some groups are targeted by the law more than others. And maybe most importantly, it doesn't have much to say about the very real pain and suffering of victims of crime. Which brings us to one last, really challenging thought to leave you with. If Durkheim is right, if a society actually needs rule breakers to test its boundaries and to evolve, it makes you wonder, who are the necessary deviants of our time? And what outdated ideas are they forcing all of us to reconsider?